Then welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our European Public Sphere discussion today. Maybe just some words about me and the background of this project. So my name is Anna Hart and I work for a German NGO called Democracy International. We work for direct democracy and in general citizen participation, especially at European level. And one of our projects is the European Public Sphere. So we started this in 2017 and have actually been to 11 countries since with this dome, which we just built in public places and invite everyone to come in and just discuss about the future of Europe. This year we are on a really cool tour, which is called the Remember Tour. So we built the dome in 6 places of remembrance in 6 different countries and have 2 discussions, always with a local partner organization. So far we have been to Germany, we went to Bucharest, we went to Burgas, Copenhagen for the World Pride, and now we're here and our last stop is in Prague. Why are we going on this extensive tour in 2021? Because we are celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Schuman Declaration. So the declaration that at the time French Foreign Minister Robert Schuman gave, and in which he outlined basically that there should be a common authority for coal and steel for Germany and France, and this marked the beginning of what now is the European Union, already back in 1950, so only 5 years after the Second World War. So a good thing to celebrate, and it's also why we celebrate Europe Day on the 9th of May every year. So I think that's it from my side. One more thing, as you can see, we're filming this discussion. Just a short disclaimer: we needed to analyze this discussion to filter out your ideas and suggestions for Europe, because we will hand them over to European decision makers at the end of this project in 2022, and we're also going to publish this discussion on YouTube.
So now about the place, right?
Yes.
Okej, to możemy teraz przejść na polski i zgodnie też z wymaganiami projektu jakby powiem kilka króciutkich, no bo to nie o to chodzi, słów o miejscu, w którym jesteśmy, no chyba takich banałów, o których no każdy wie, że tak Łazienki to była letnia rezydencja ostatniego elekcyjnego króla Polski, tak, Stanisława Augusta Miodowskiego, a Belweder też był siedzibą, później przewodniczącego Rady Państwa, później prezydenta, no i to też jest obecnie siedzibą prezydenta. No i cóż, najbardziej chyba wszystkim się kojarzy właśnie ze Stanisławem Augustem Poniatowskim i z jego obiadami czwartkowymi. Akcja dzieje się też w najsłynniejszej polskiej powieści Lalce, no i wczoraj też miało historyczne wydarzenie miejsce w Łazienkach, bo Angela Merkel też była tutaj, cały park był zamknięty. So I think this is it. I możemy chyba, we can start the discussion, right?
Yeah.
To możemy teraz już przejść do tej właściwej części dyskusji. Czyli jakby poprosiłbym każdego, żeby przedstawił się, powiedział jak się nazywa i może taka pierwsza myśl, jaka kojarzy mu się z Europą, z przyszłością Europy. Może zaczniemy od Karoliny.
Tak, dzień dobry. Ja nazywam się Karolina Pawlak. Na co dzień zajmuję się pracą z młodzieżowymi liderami małych i średnich społeczności. Ale tak, Pawle, z czym kojarzy mi się na pewno z taką niestety albo stety odrobioną albo nieodrobioną lekcją. Ja bym powiedziała, że nieodrobioną lekcją tego, że my jako nastolatkowie albo 20-latkowie, ta młodzi dorośli, mamy takie poczucie, że Unia Europejska nie była od zawsze i ona nie jest może na zawsze nam dana. I mam takie poczucie, że bardzo ważne byłoby to, żeby dorośli, którzy pamiętają i znają i wychowywali się w czasach, gdzie jakby nie było Unii Europejskiej i wiedzą, jak to było bez poczucia bezpieczeństwa i wspólnotowości, żeby też potrafili to przekazać młodym ludziom, którzy mają poczucie, że to jest dane raz na zawsze. Więc może mi się to kojarzy z takim odrobieniem lekcji i nadal rozmawianiem z młodzieżą i w ogóle z młodymi dorosłymi, ale patrząc trochę bardziej optymistycznie może, to mam takie poczucie, że bardzo kojarzy mi się jednak z solidarnością i poczuciem bezpieczeństwa. Z taką możliwością nawiązywania relacji i z tym, że w które państwo Europy czy Unii, do którego bym nie zawitała, to w każdym odnajdę tę przestrzeń i to miejsce dla siebie. I będę wiedziała, że jeżeli chociaż w stanie na poziomie komunikatywnym użyję języka angielskiego, to raczej dogadam się z każdym mieszkańcem, niezależnie czy to będą Niemcy, czy to będzie Francja, czy to będzie na przykład Portugalia. Więc myślę, że z tym mi się bardzo kojarzy. To oddaję głos teraz Zuzi.
Ja nazywam się Zuzia Lewandowska i jestem radną Grodziska Mazowieckiego. I mi Unia Europejska kojarzy się z ludźmi, szczególnie młodymi, którzy tą Unię tworzą, ale też właśnie z takim poczuciem możliwości rozwoju i zdobywania doświadczeń.
Z czym mi się kojarzy Unia? Czy już mam o przyszłości mówić? Unia mi się kojarzy z przyszłością. Unia mi się kojarzy z przyszłością i dla mnie przede wszystkim jest to jednak wspólnota i też wspólnota jakichś określonych wartości i też tego takiej możliwości spotkania się i tego, żeby funkcjonować, żeby próbować stworzyć jakąś wspólną przestrzeń do tego, żeby się spotykać, żeby też wymieniać się doświadczeniem, opiniami, żeby móc też się nie zgadzać i robić to w sposób, który pozwala na rozwiązywanie takich konfliktów. Więc tworzenie pewnych ram do tego, aby ludzie o różnych często też poglądach mogli się spotykać, mogli się nawet gdzieś tam ścierać i nie zgadzać, ale będzie to w takim formacie, który pozwoli na to, żeby nawet z jakiegoś konfliktu czy zderzenia na przykład jakichś opinii po prostu powstało coś nowego, co pozwoli stworzyć jakąś nową jakość akceptowalną dla większości, więc dla mnie chyba przede wszystkim to jest jednak Unia. Tworzenie pewnej przestrzeni, pewnej ramy, pewnego miejsca na to, aby się spotykać.
Czy mam mówić po polsku, czy po angielsku? Should I speak Polish or English?
Don't you need
If everyone understands English, it would be nice to.
Okay, I can. I can go in English. Yeah, so my name is Iga Kamocka. I work at the Schumann Foundation. Well, for me, Europe and future are kind of the same. Yeah, so for me, Europe is the future, and that should be our future here in Poland, which is kind of not a mainstream opinion, I would say, at the moment concerning our Polish government. But yeah, I think that Europe is the future, at least Europe, because there's a lot of global challenge that we can't solve by ourselves. By ourselves, I mean, Poland, Germany, France, and so on. Yeah? So I think that we are stronger. We're stronger together, and for example, we I don't know, we can't fight the climate crisis by ourselves, or we can't fight the not paying taxes by huge international companies by ourselves. So there's a lot of international global problems that just one country is not a side. So I think that Europe is our future, and that Europe is future, I'm really scared what would happen if Europe wouldn't be integrated.
Yes, so my question is, we hear a lot about Europe, we know a lot about Europe in terms of the European Union and all of this integration process, but what is Europe for you, and how do you envisage Europe's future in terms of economic matters, in terms of migration matters as well? What do you think is that goal to be reached, and how do you think it can be probably achieved? yeah, what is Europe and the European Union? What are both? What do they mean to you?
What do they mean to you?
Yeah. Well, for me, as a foreigner, I can say, I'm from Colombia. From the outside, from this outsider perspective, I would say that it's a sui generis example that must be followed. It's not a secret that Europe has passed or has had a really harsh history during the last century, but what you have achieved so far, it's a really it's an amazing result, and it's something that, for example, in Latin America, we would like to achieve this sort of or this degree of integration. Of course, we have some multilateral organizations or multilateral configurations, but in the end, we really do not get to achieve this level of integration. And for me, it's an inspiration looking to Europe and try to probably export this kind of collaboration model that you have get to forge here. So that for me means Europe. It means cooperation. It means willingness to work towards a common future, and it means it's the best proof that it is possible to leave aside differences and that one can work in a globalized world among many nations.
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So I must say I was kind of inspired by the previous speech because I thought to myself that the most important thing that we all in the European Union have to answer is what is European Union for us and what it should be for us, because when the European integration has started, everybody knew the goal, right? It was to achieve peace and to secure the situation in Europe. Then there was a common goal of establishing the common market and the whole four freedoms and the Schengen area. But I think now it's kind of lost, and we don't actually know what European Union is for. It's also connected with the thing that Karolina said, that's especially for young people, like in our lives, peace was always there. In our lives, Schengen was always there. So I think, do not appreciate it anymore. And I think we need another big goal for the European Union, so we can identify with that and move the European integration forward.
Yeah. Okay, I will try to answer in both ways. So what Europe means to me is definitely freedom. It's I can't imagine any other place where it's this easy to travel around, where I can just move to any country that I want to without any or many administrative hurdles, where we can just have this discussion together and it feels like a normal thing. So that's what Europe really means to me. But I think with this freedom, and that's maybe also the connection to the future of Europe, freedom also means that you have to have some common, ground rules, a basic set of values, and I think we're struggling with that. We're in this discussion of what these values should actually be, even though they have been established with the Charter of the European Union, all of this, but still to have everyone in this union fostering these common values. I think we still have a long way to go, and I mean, of course, the European Union integration always comes and goes in waves, and maybe we're unfortunately in the wave where a lot of people are trying to disintegrate, but my wish for the future would definitely be more integration, keeping Europe going, and I think that's what I would answer so far. And it's actually interesting that you were talking about the degree of integration and unity that we've achieved here, because inside really at the moment it doesn't feel very united because of all these struggles.
So maybe anyone would like to comment the previous speeches or opinions?
If you let me add just something about what you said. Yeah, I think it's important to always bear in mind the kind of integration that you have achieved, because I was, for example, talking with Anne that you have probably normalized the fact that you can just move to another country and you can just start a new life, without a lot of red tape involved, without bureaucracy. It's quite simple for you as Europeans to just like move across the whole continent, and it is again something that you probably have normalized, but again you should be really proud about it, because it's not something that you can really see in other regions of the world, and therefore you must really fight for stand together and try to avoid any threats that may dismantle or that may be or may affect the European Union as what it is and how we do it, how we do know it as it is now. Yep.
Okay, so anyone would like to?
Odniosę się po polsku do tego, co jakby mówili tutaj nasi goście. Chciałam się odnieść do celu, for the main goal, do tej solidarności i do tego, co w przyszłości. Bo tak myślałam i chwilę wcześniej szepnęłam do Zuzi, że to jest dla mnie strasznie trudno odpowiedzieć, czym to dla mnie jest. I tak się zaczęłam definiować, dlaczego jest mi trudno. Naprawdę, dlaczego jest mi trudno powiedzieć, czym to tak naprawdę jest. I może po prostu czasami jako odbiorca po prostu działa, nie aktywny uczestnik podejmowanych decyzji na poziomie jakby Europy. Brakuje mi tego, żeby może wewnątrz się jakby nie wiem, czy głowy państw, czy premierzy, czy jakby osoby decyzyjne na poziomie Europy i Unii Europejskiej powiedziały, tak, zróbmy to wszyscy razem, a nie się pokłóćmy. Znaczy, żeby może szedł jednolity przekaz, który będzie faktycznie dawał takie poczucie solidarności i odpowiedzialności za te podejmowane decyzje. I myślę, że pandemia koronawirusa była też świetnym tego przykładem, jaka była narracja, w jakich państwach, w jaki sposób. Co do tego celu. Mi na przykład staram się go coraz bardziej rozumieć i w nim uczestniczyć i dla mnie, ja go na przykład nie mam na teraz zdefiniowanego, nie mam jasno powiedzianego, tak, to jest dla mnie czytelny cel, do którego dąży Unia Europejska, Europa w tym momencie, ale dostrzegam ilość działań, jaka się dzieje za pomocą narzędzi, którym dysponuje Europa i Unia Europejska. I to jest już dla mnie przynajmniej zachęta do porozmawiania, zachęta do tego, żeby wyjść i otworzyć młodych ludzi, którzy niekoniecznie czują w ogóle powinność rozmawiania na ten temat, albo że w sumie Unia Europejska jest dla mnie codziennością, ona generalnie tak zostanie na kolejne x 10 lat. To ważne jest to, że przynajmniej dostrzegam możliwość i narzędzia, z których mogę korzystać, żeby znaleźć ten cel. Bo ja na przykład jeszcze go nie mam zdefiniowanego. I to była moja diagnoza. Ale jak myślałam też o czym, co mi daje i czym dla mnie jest jeszcze w ogóle Unia Europejska, to patrząc może też na inne państwa, to jednak daje mi służbę zdrowia, jednak daje mi opiekę medyczną, jednak daje mi takie poczucie, że jeżeli byłabym za granicą i jestem jakby Europejką, to będę i tak czy inaczej jakiś lekarz się mną zajmie. Że ja będę miała tą opiekę, że ja mam się do kogo zwrócić w obcym państwie, który tak mi pomoże. I nie jestem przekonana i raczej wszyscy wiemy, że nie w każdym państwie tak jest. I to jest dla mnie duże poczucie bezpieczeństwa i komfortu. To tak, to w tym się chciałam odnieść. Zuza, chcesz coś? Nie? Dobra. Oddaję? Ja tu mam mikrofon. Sorry.
Okay, anyone would like? Okay, if not, so I will borrow some thoughts from what Karolina has just said. And Karolina mentioned, for example, the COVID crisis, when at first every country tried to do everything on its own. So we had the closed borders and so on and so on. But then we realized that actually if we are together, if you work together, we have better results. So, but it's another time when we cannot just think in the first place of just working together, because something has to happen, something bad has to happen to make us work together. And I'm wondering why is that so, because we had so many examples in the history of European integration of the fact that if we work together we can achieve something better than when each country is working on its own. But we still don't identify with it, and we still need another proofs, and we just cannot once and for all have in mind that it's better that we work together.
Yeah, maybe adding to that I think, for example, the corona crisis is an example in all of our discussions at the moment, but it shows so many flaws actually in the system. And to me and my friends, for example, it was clear that we needed a concerted European response. Also, for example, when every country was developing their own apps. Why? There could have been one European app, and this was clear to a lot of citizens, I think. But then still, it took the EU an incredibly long time to get the same idea and kind of start this process. I'm not sure how this could go any faster, but maybe it's really not a problem that so many citizens have, but more that the nation states are not, or the political representatives are not sure how far they can go, and yeah.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I would like, it's more a question. What do you think maybe are those threats that the European Union is facing during these times? What are those things that Europe should focus on in order to avoid any potential struggles in the future in terms of the cohesion of how solid the union is? What are those topics in which you should be working the most on?
I think for now I think not only for now, but since always, the biggest threat in the European Union, the biggest problem is populism, which is kind of something impossible to fight, I think, because it's really for politicians in each country. It's really easy to say that the EU, the bad decisions are the EU's decisions, not ours. We didn't participate totally in the decision-making process. It was the EU who told us to do something, which is totally, obviously not true. Because if you're a member of the EU, you have to decide. But what's quite visible when you said that the biggest fan of the European integration are those who are not in the EU. Yeah. So in Poland, I don't know, the citizens of Belarus and Ukraine, I think they're the biggest optimists. Yeah. So there's something that you can only appreciate it when you don't have it. So maybe that's a good example. And for the girls as well, and what Pavel mentioned, that they kind of the EU is obvious for them. So they kind of, what's EU? Well, it's my everyday life. It's something normal, yeah. So for me, the biggest threat is populism, and misinformation, which is so connected with the populism. So yeah, that's me.
Maybe you can ask the question in Polish so that they can also the same question about populism.
Chcecie o zagrożeniach? Chcecie
Wait a minute, I must think. O zagrożeniach. Na pewno zgodzę się z tym, co jakby wcześniej już padło, że jak nie mamy tego celu, a przychodzi zagrożenie, to trochę trudno jest nam się skupić i nagle zacząć działać. Ale widzę jednak dużo zagrożenia i tutaj się uśmiechnę do Pawła i pomyślę o naszym wspólnym znajomym, o Janie, który mówi, że dużym zagrożeniem może też być polityka farmaceutyczna i jednak farmacja. I jednak zgłębiając ten temat na święta Europy, ja się też zaczynam bardzo z tym zgadzać, że korzystanie z usług wielkich koncernów farmaceutycznych, które jednak pobierają bardzo duże czy opłaty, czy nie są najlepszym wyborem i uzależnianie w ogóle farmacji od zewnętrznych podmiotów, korporacji, firm, sponsorów, każdej możliwej innej grupy, która finansuje zakup tych leków, no nie wiem, czy jest najbardziej adekwatną formułą niż bycie w posiadaniu odpowiednich zasobów we własnych rezerwach i zarządzanie tego jakby przez osoby decydujące po prostu, a nie uzależnianie się od podmiotu zewnętrznego, który albo może powiedzieć, tak wyprodukujemy, ale za rok. No tylko, że w rok może nagle jednak kosztować to bardzo dużo żyć, więc może jednak bym powiedziała, że polityka farmaceutyczna. No jednak widzę, co się dzieje i śledzę, co się dzieje z emigracją, z migracjami, z tym, jak dużo uchodźców nie ma tego domu i że ten dom trzeba im stworzyć i pomóc im tworzyć. I myślę, że to jest też bardzo ważne, a nie traktować tego na tyle podmiotowo, żeby dzielić się procentowo kto ile, dlaczego, komu i kto komu za to zapłaci, no bo chyba nie o to w tym wszystkim chodzi. Że gdybyśmy my sami potrzebowali takiej pomocy, no to co by się wtedy z nami stało? Wszyscy by mieli nagle problem. No, raczej wychodzę z takiego założenia, że chciałabym być traktowana, znaczy, że po prostu podchodzę do drugiego człowieka tak, jakbym chciała zostać potraktowana, więc nie wyobrażam sobie takiego podejścia do drugiego człowieka, że nie dam mu domu, bo ktoś mu ten dom zabrał. I będę się zastanawiała, ile będę miała z tego korzyści finansowych, albo ile będę miała z tego trudności. Więc to widzę jako zagrożenie. Zuza, widzisz jakieś zagrożenie? Co jest dla ciebie wyzwaniem?
Czego się boisz?
Czego się boisz, Zuza? No? Tak? Okej, dobra. Chcielibyście? O.
Maja może. Okay, so like I'll just comment because Karina was telling us about this policy with the companies who made medicaments and how like kind Europe is addicted to them and they can dictate the prices, for example, because they are mostly located outside Europe. So like we are addicted to the chain supplies and so on and so on. So I would just add to that that this is another example that is showing us that when we would be working together, we would actually like get better results because when each country would be negotiating with these big companies, their position will be obviously weaker. But if the whole bloc would negotiate with them, the position would be like very, very, very stronger. Anyone would like anything to that, to this point or not? Okay.
Just one comment that the situation with the pharmacy companies, it's not only about the pharmacy companies, but generally with each sector of the economy, yeah, because generally we don't have so many huge companies in Europe. For example, I don't know, the chips are from China or Japan. All the production is all around the world. Yeah, Europe doesn't have sources itself, so it's not only the pharmaceutical sector, but it also concerns all the sectors, as we actually saw during the pandemic, that we didn't have basic products, because we don't have them here in Poland or in Europe. Yeah, we have to import them from all over the world.
Okay, so I would like to go back to what you have said and what you have said previously, because I agree with that the people who appreciate the European integration the most are the people from outside the European Union, because they know how much European integration has affected the lives of the ordinary people, and the Europeans don't see it, and I'm wondering if it's possible for the Europeans to like take the 2 steps back and think of what we have achieved during this over 70 years and how their lives have changed because of that, or we are just focusing on like on today, on our like interests who are sometimes against each other, and like we just cannot appreciate that what have we done and why it's good that we've been together in the past, and why should we be together in the future? What do you think?
I think, I mean, in fact, I have a question that is somehow related to this, and to all of the scourges that maybe can the European Union face. Is that, for example, the European Union has faced several crises, such as the financial crisis in 2008, the refugees crisis as well, and well, now recently the COVID pandemic. So, do you think maybe, I mean, because all of these crises have been sorted out at some point successfully, but do you think that is, I mean, that was possible or has been possible because the European Union is what it is now? Or if maybe it didn't exist, you think that there may have been another ending for all of those crises? Like, how do you see that? Like, it worth it in the end? Like, to stand together as the European Union to face all of those issues?
Somebody want to answer?
I don't have an answer. Does anybody? I don't know. No, I think that I'm not sure that I would agree with the statement that all the crises were solved successfully. I think they're sort of past, and we sort of, in the whole world, we just sort of got used to different kinds of crises, and there were different packages for supporting mainly institutions, not so much individuals. Speaking of economic crisis, for example, or but there's always some kind of crisis or another, and I think that it's easier to face any crisis together with someone, not on your own, on whichever level, and even try to make sure that it does not repeat. And I don't see that much work in that direction. It's difficult now when you have more people and more people that want to decide, and then thinking about so many. It's a very complex issue. Any kind of issue that we could talk about, from integration on how much close we should work together as countries in the EU, or then the issue of EU versus or with in cooperation with countries next to it, with other continents, and it's how can anybody? And I'm thinking of right now, this is changing so fast, and everything is really, really complicated. And I have to say that sometimes I just think to myself, there's no ready-made solution, and never will there be a solution when nobody will have to work for. And usually it's the little person, one sort of individual that has to work for everything. So this is kind of the system that we have, and if we don't try to get it on a different track, we'll just have more and more and more and more and more crisis every day. So, no opinion.
I have a counter question. You mentioned, for example, well, first of all, of course, like from a foreigner perspective, the crisis, maybe as you said, they were not fully successfully overpassed, but yeah, I mean, just like that's the perception that probably I have from my perspective as an outsider. But yeah, you mentioned that always it is easier to face a problem, not just like in the political realm, but in general. It's way easier to deal with a problem if you are standing with someone else. This is the case of the European Union. But do you think that there's a limit for the European Union to exert some influence on the countries? Like, what's the limit of if there's a limit, of course, what's the limit for that integration, if there is, again?
Can I just maybe change the subject because someone else joined us? Możemy mówić po polsku. Mamy tutaj po prostu taką międzynarodową grupę. Spotykamy się tutaj, żeby rozmawiać ogólnie o Europie, o Unii Europejskiej, o naszych lękach, oczekiwaniach, ale też nadziejach. I tak zbieramy właśnie opinie różnych osób. Więc takie pytanie też do pani i może do córki, może też będzie chciała coś powiedzieć. Z czym na przykład Unia... Tak, chciałabyś? No to świetnie. Po polsku, tak. A powiedz mi, jak myślisz sobie o Unii Europejskiej, wiesz co to jest Unia Europejska? Nie wiesz. Inny kraj. Europa, Polska jest w Unii Europejskiej, w Europie, tak? No to potem cię zapytamy, jakie masz nadzieje na przyszłość. Ale może pani chce nam powiedzieć, jak pani myśli o Unii Europejskiej, czym to jest dla pani, z czym to się kojarzy? Może właśnie... Tak, czy może jest coś, czego się pani obawia, a może coś, co pani się nie podoba, co powinno zostać zmienione?
Nie obawiam się niczego, ponieważ jesteśmy ciągle w trybie zmiany i Unia Europejska to też jest ciągle jakaś zmiana dla Polski. Także dobrze, żebyśmy się zaprzyjaźnili z Unią, bo ostatnio czytałam też o polexicie. No to też może być znowu jakaś zmiana albo zmiana po prostu narracji. Jednak to będzie na razie temat, w którym będziemy przez kilka lat, myślę, i dobrze, żebyśmy potrafili się odnaleźć w danej sytuacji. Nieważne, czy będziemy w Unii, czy nie w Unii, ale żebyśmy też się szanowali, tolerowali, akceptowali i nie zwalczali.
Okay, mamy tutaj też nowe osoby. Po polsku, czy jesteście... Okay, English. So, okay, no problem. You can speak English. We are talking here about Europe, European Union, also about your feelings about it, about your fears, your hopes. If you want to share with us, please, mic is yours.
So, it's fine? Yeah, good. I don't know, I think my biggest fear about the European Union right now is probably the refugee crisis, because I feel like everybody's all words and not really actions, so I still feel like people don't get the help that they need, and I still hear a lot of cases where they are not welcomed in the country's schools, for example. And this is really bad, because then you don't give them the ability to integrate into society and to be like a healthy member of it if you just keep them out of everything. So I think this will have to be solved in the next years, since the situation in Afghanistan and the other countries is getting worse and worse. So we will keep having this problem if we don't manage to help them out. So yeah, that's my biggest concern right now.
Maybe hopes?
Okay, since I'm Ukrainian, I really hope that one day we will be in European Union, and I don't have just to joke about it. And I could really say, like, when we're, for example, because we are part of Schumann volunteers team, and we were always joking about that, like, because the rest, mostly, just the Lisa from Belarus, she was also with us in the team. We were all the time joking that we are not in the EU. But it's super cool that, for example, volunteering projects like this, we are also we can take part, and we are also invited, and we can feel this European, because we also talk about that before. And the thing was that when you say European and you are not, you are from the country which is not the part of European Union, sometimes you don't feel European. You are like, am I or not? So that's actually my hope.
Are you?
Yes, I am. After the volunteering experience, for sure.
No, I can't. I just agree with
I have a question. If you let me, what for you is to be European then?
It's actually now after a long way of like thinking and reflecting. I think it's to share European values on the first place, of course. And as soon as I think they share them, I feel European.
Okay. And
That's
for example, what are those values that you feel are the cornerstones of the European spirit? We can
yes,
say.
exactly. I think, for example, like equality, it's one of the biggest value that we should share, all of us. And I think that European Union is working on it really good. And for example, the projects like the volunteering or just Erasmus in general, it helps people to understand it and to think about it more.
Okay, so I think I will return actually to this thing I was gonna talk about anyway, because you almost everyone of you mentioned it, that when you are not European Union, you appreciate the fact of the European integration. So I'm wondering, like, what has to be done that Europeans themselves start to appreciate the integration. Like I know that a lot is happening right now in Europe, and maybe like we have more informations, not only the good ones about the cooperation, but also the bad ones about, for example, the rule of law crisis and the general values crisis in the EU. But I'm wondering if it's anyhow possible for the Europeans themselves to like take it 2 steps back and look at what we have achieved and like be proud of it.
I would say that one of the ways to achieve that is maybe through what she was stating, like promoting this kind of mobility programs that may help people to realize and bear in mind always, like, this is possible because I am European, and being European means, holding this series of values. And I think that's a really a really good way to somehow keep awaken that European spirit. And also, like, these kind of spaces as well, I think they are somehow a way to boost that European feeling, because it's an informal space in which people can simply debate and have informal conversations, in which they can define the future of Europe in the way they envisage it, without any pressures or any powers maybe exerting influence on them. So I think those two things, like this kind of offline setups and this kind of mobility programs, may always be helpful for European people to remember that, we are here for this. This is possible because all of those steps that we have been taking during the past years. And I would say that that's a potential way to tackle that issue.
Another thing, because maybe also for you who joined us now, like this dome has actually been to 11 countries already over the past 5 years, but last year it was resting. And what a lot of people or some people mentioned is that the EU is also very bad at marketing itself, like that all the positive things it does for everyone. And I mean, in the end, well, you're a lawyer, you will know better, but I think most of the decisions that are made now are somehow connected also to a European dimension, like the laws that are passed, they have to be in line with European guidelines, all of this. So it really affects every part of our life, but in the end it's not clear to people. And so that has been mentioned a few times also, like that there should actually be some kind of EU fetishization, but it's just not happening. And then another thing that also connects to what you mentioned with the the refugee intake that we have, or how we treat refugees actually, was that in one of the first discussions we had on this tour at the border museum Schifflersgrund in Germany, so really the former inner German border, we also discussed about this, that it's really a place of where people were seeking refuge, trying to escape a regime, and still even there we see that people who have lived through this, they don't remember it, or somehow they don't connect what is happening to people in other countries coming to Europe with what has happened to them. And one of the solutions that we actually talked about, and I think it connects very well to what the how people can better understand what the European Union does for us, is would be to have more, to have, for example, more refugees in schools who can share also informally what they have been through. And it's really, I think, because none of us has experienced this situation of extreme crisis, and maybe that's a way to bring it closer to people, so to actually understand that we have a great foundation around here. I don't know what you think about this. I would be interested in hearing your thoughts.
Well, I don't agree that we're not experiencing those crises, because we totally are. We just pretend that they're not here. So like we pretend that the refugee crisis doesn't, concern us, and we're not doing anything. Like the climate change doesn't concern us. I think it's, I think people are just not aware how their behavior can influence the globe, and generally the situation, how our behavior influences the politicians, and how we could start the change. So I don't agree with the statement that the crisis doesn't concern us. We just think we're not it's not here. But it is.
But I also agree with the thought that we should talk about it more. I think, and really, I think that many people who are living normal life and just hear it somewhere in news, they don't think that it's somewhere like next to them. But it can be, as you were saying, it can be people who are living next to them, and maybe if it would be talking out loud somewhere at schools, maybe then those kids will. In future, they would take it as their own problem, not only like the problem that exists somewhere else.
Yes, I agree with Maria, and I also think that maybe we should change also the way we talk about these things. Because sometimes, even when we do discuss them, or even when the media portrays them somehow, it's really in a wrong way. For example, recently I saw many times, I noticed that when there is an attack, the media prefers to use the word conflict when it's really an attack, and they just say conflict to make it sound different. So yeah.
Yes, I wanted to relate only previously to what you said, that we are not aware, people are not aware, we are not aware of everything. Global education is non-existent. We don't know where the fabric for our pants comes from, and how it travels all over the world to come over here so we can buy it, and why some things are very cheap and the other ones the same thing, the same pants look the same, can be very expensive. And sometimes it's not so obvious. It's not just because they're fair trade, for example, but it has a different meaning because it's well publicized, or it has a bit of brand, but it's made just the same. So there's so many different things we're not aware of, and we don't talk about them until we need to. So when the pandemic hit the whole world, yes, this question of resources that we don't have, that nobody has all the resources or everything we don't need nowadays. We just function differently, and it's the way we live in. And I don't know if we made anything to change this, even on the level of the European Union. I really wonder, But coming back to what you mentioned, that it's not doesn't have a good PR, the EU. It doesn't, and it's funny why it doesn't, because it's a construction. One would think that all the member states got into willingly and wanted to be part of this structure, right? And now member states give it the bad PR. So it's like the federal government in the states that's blamed for everything when something's wrong in your state. So sort of the similar thing. I don't know if there's a way out of it, because there is a big push on good PR. So let's stress and let's remind people of what is good about, like the programs that enable young people to go study abroad, to I don't know, to meet people, the peers from different countries, so we can make this kind of talks, things like this, free travel, free market, all of this is great, but it does not come out of the blue sky. No, we need to give to get. So it's this. We don't talk about this even when we publicize it and we say this is great. We don't go deeper into how it's been enabled. And I think that's the root of the problem. We don't have time. Nobody has time or energy or willingness or capability to actually think of the reason of how anything got to be. I think that's the problem, and I don't think it's solvable very fast, but it does need some ground changes.
Can I relate to that? Because whenever any crisis emerges in Europe, and the COVID crisis was the perfect example of it, so we could have witnessed at the beginning of the crisis that the European Union was accused of not doing anything. But for example, now the Polish authorities are accusing European Union of doing too much and to like pressuring sovereign Polish country, and like it's also the problem of PR, because European Union doesn't have tools to like reach the wider public. There is no European TV and so on, and the governments, the thing Maya talked about, like can somehow shape the national discourse within each country, and that's why European Union is seemed either as doing not enough or doing too much, and nobody or very few people know that in those moments when European Union is accused of not doing enough, European Union just cannot do more, because that it doesn't have any competences in such field, and the health policy is the perfect example of it. Or in the case of the crisis of rule of law, that we have established such grand rules as we were talking, and this is the way to like actually preserve the union as a whole. So that's my thought. Any would like to comment on that or say something to it?
No, I just wanted to say that the EU has the sources, should have the sources to make that discussion, because the EU, it's not like I don't know, it's not like a empty word somewhere above. Yeah, the EU is people, the authorities, and even if the national authorities, they don't agree with some ideas that the other national authorities of other countries have, it should be a place for constructive discussion, and there isn't. At least in some countries. And it should be, it should go from the national authorities, and which kind of isn't in Poland. Yeah, the educational system is not changing in Poland in the way like pro-global education or European education or general education. What the EU does, what it is about, it's not happening, and I fear that it's not happening not only in Poland but in other countries as well. So if we have citizens who have no idea what is the EU doing and what is it about and what's the decision-making process, then how can we have well-educated adults later on who make our decisions and go and vote for people who really want to do some changes, because the politicians, they only think about the next elections. They really don't think about making a big change in the society.
Yeah, because now we're talking so much about the member states and how they're, as the middlemen, kind of sabotaging the EU, but at the same time, all the member states are profiting so much from the EU, and I mean not only financially, but in so many ways. And I'm just wondering if you have any ideas how that could be tackled, or even what the reason behind this is, because it, like, if you, in a logical sense, it doesn't make sense, and yeah.
So if I could make sense something, because this is a thing I was gonna talk about anyway, so I'm happy you brought it up. Like, for me, it does make sense, because I think that, and I can imagine that member states, the national states, are kind of worried that people will stop identifying with the national level and start identifying with the European level first. So, like, it's, and I can understand it, that if something is bad for you, you don't want to happen, right? Even if like, for the ordinary people, it would be better. And when you asked what can we do about it, I think like, we first and foremost, we have to wait, because when we look at the European integration, its political part started like 30 years ago, after Treaty of Maastricht. So it's not very long time ago. And we are talking sorry, about the cultural change here, and such changes are the hardest to achieve, and it takes the longest to achieve. So I think if of course those crises that we were talking about are very dangerous, and we have to, like, make sure that European Union will survive each and every one of them. But if it happens, I think with the time passing by, I think people will sort of automatically like, move the loyalty to the European level, because they will see that EU affects their life more and more. And I think even if there won't be any treaty changes, this influence will be growing and growing. So let's hope that if EU, like, will survive those crises, the time will, like, do a part of our job. And of course, it doesn't mean that we just have to lay and wait for it. We also have to like, do some stuff ourselves. But like, I mean that we don't have to expect the results now and here, and some maybe the effects of results of our discussion will, like, pop out in a year, in a two, and so on and so on. So maybe like, we just don't need to, like, expect the changes right now. Anyone? Maybe you disagree with me or agree with me, or
I want to say something about a bit different, like, it's connected and it was something you have been talking about, but I wanted to say, as we mentioned, all the programs like Erasmus or European Solidarity Corps and so on, I don't know how it is in the other countries, and I heard that it's more promoted in some countries, but in the others, for example, in Ukraine, we don't talk about it a lot. And I heard about it like once, and I think that it's really like a great luck that I'm here. So I think that at least at schools, for example, or in the universities, we should talk about it like more and more, and people should be like we should talk for example, even like the people who already participate in the things like that should go to the places like schools and so on, and actually it's the part, for example, as a volunteer, as the Schumann team volunteers we were doing, but at the same time we should do it more and more everywhere, because people should hear about it, and it's also really good way to share it, for more people to participate and to share values and to feel European, for example. Yeah.
Ewelina, Ewelina, we haven't talked in a while. Jak wygląda to napięcie i dlaczego jest to napięcie między tym poziomem narodowym a europejskim, jak je rozwiązać?
I think there will be always tensions. I think that it's something we cannot avoid. This is something natural when you have like any kind of community, and as long as we are so attached to the idea of I don't know, the nationality and national state, I think there will be always this kind of tensions. So maybe there is a hope for some kind of interregional cooperation or between cities, or something which is not so much connected with the nationality. So, and I think maybe the Europe of regions will be somehow the answer, and also the cooperation between mayor of the cities, etc. Something which is I don't know, something which is wider, and I don't know, maybe there is something more than being just only described as a particular nationality. That I think that somehow maybe sometimes people from different regions, from different countries, sometimes they can find much more in common. For example, when they are talking about the needs and problems connected with the region or the local surrounding they are living in. So sometimes maybe this is also better than when we talk about, okay, I'm from Poland, I'm Pole, and that's my, and you know, thinking only this way. But sometimes we can say that, okay, but maybe I have some other issues, and someone from the particular region from another country can have the same. So I think maybe this is the answer, and maybe this is the future also for Europeans, because then we start thinking in a wider perspective.
What do you think, Anne, after receiving all those answers?
I think we've covered a broad range of topics. So far, I like this idea about Europe of regions, or especially now that we've mentioned that, nation states or politicians, national politicians are a bit problematic with their identity crisis. I think that could be something to help tackle that. The solution.
So the weakest link of the integration are the national governments. Yeah, that's kind of a sad that the weakest links in the European integration are the national governments. Yeah, I don't think it's a positive conclusion, but maybe maybe a form of cooperation of mayors. I think it's quite developed.
Because it always allows to go beyond. So I think that's why. So, and well, I don't see that. Okay, there's if you find your nationality as a part of personality, and this is something important for you, of course, I think that's I understand that. But maybe when we think about the future of common Europe, as we like use this term, I think maybe this is the way, because if we stick to this quite old-fashioned idea, let's say, when we talk about the national states, maybe we also stuck, and there will be no progress or no other options, and somehow it's we will end up with what was in the past, that everything just will fall apart, and nothing in common. So yeah, so
Okay, so I must say that I'm quite happy with the current conclusion about the Europe of the regions, because I must share with you that I wrote my bachelor thesis about the European Committee of the Regions, so it's like very connected to each other. And also with that in mind, I'm wondering if this idea of Europe of the regions, or like going local, going regional, going local, isn't also a solution for the democracy deficit in the European Union. I mean, European Union like is nearly 500 millions of citizens, right? So it's very hard to allow everyone to like share their opinion and so on. And I'm wondering if Europe was more attached to this regional or local level, and when we talked, if we talked about Europe with people actually who we know and who could later pass our opinions to the European level, wouldn't be like kind of solution to the problem that Europe is not seen as to be very connected with the average citizen.
Sorry, so you mean regional representatives?
Yeah, regional, local, because they offer a chance to engage like wider public, because the smaller community is, the biggest are the chances that everyone will be allowed to share their opinion. And as the European Union is such a big organism, it's like very hard to listen to everybody.
Yeah, but the problem is that the local authorities or regional, they don't have the competences. So they can talk and talk, but they can't do anything. So
So, but as we are talking about the future of Europe, maybe this is something which should change in order to make European Union better.
So you hope that the state authorities will give their competences to the regional ones, yeah?
I think they will be willing to give the competences to their regional or local levels, rather to give competences to the European level.
I'm not so sure.
Let's make a bet.
So
Who will see?
just to give the competences to somebody, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it gonna take? 25 years? Actually, I mean, I'm coming from the world of direct democracy, and well, Democracy International, just as an organization, like really, direct democracy. No, oh, that would be cool, living it firsthand. But yeah, I mean, our solution is always not to get away or to combine this idea of representative democracy with direct elements, direct democracy, so that we can, as citizens, always complement what is happening. It's not only that you have to ask someone to do something in your name, because we as citizens should have the power to actually adapt our situation. And I mean, there is the tool of the European Citizens Initiative, so you collect, like if we have an idea, we collect 1 million signatures in total in 7 countries. It's a lot of work, of course, but then democracy is always work, I guess. And then at least the European Commission has to discuss our suggestion. And I think we might be quicker, if we develop further that tool, that it actually becomes a direct democratic decision-making tool. So that's just or also with European Citizens Assembly, something like that. It's of course a hype at the moment, but there you kind of you don't have local representatives, but in theory you would have representatives for different groups of people, and that could make Europe also more accessible, that people feel connected to it, and I think then it's going to be our last round probably.
Okay, I just wanted to say that the European Citizens Initiative, it's not so accessible for average citizen. It's easy to sign it, but it's not easy to organize it. It's not reachable for just an average citizen. It's reachable for big NGOs or big movements who has budget. And I think from the idea, from the initiative to the law, it's like about 15 years. So for me as a citizen, it's like, come on, how could I be interested in one issue for 15 years? Yeah, it's kind of impossible. Yeah. So I think it is a tool, but it's not the easiest one. So maybe the petitions to the European Parliament are a bit better in this case. Yeah, but we can work on it. Yeah.
But there is also another problem with the European Citizens Initiative, and is that at this moment there are no initiatives that were successful.
There were
no.
6.
Like they were presented to the European Commission, but there wasn't any.
Right to Water. It was the first European Citizens Initiative, and it was successful. And actually, the law is going into force this year.
Yeah, but I think it was not directly through this. I think the initiative itself was struck down, but Commission proposed very similar initiative. I think it was.
But I think it's never you can make a copy paste from the initiative to the law. Yeah, you have to. There's
maybe it wasn't
But the idea was
copy
from
paste.
the idea was
Yeah,
from
but
the initiative.
sometimes the initiatives are signals to the European Commission, and that's how they are described by scholars, how their function is described. But so even if one was successful, it's not so many, right? Bearing in mind that, as you said, it's a huge work to do, and after you collect them at least 1 million signatures, and so on, and then your work is struck down, you feel kind of betrayed or disappointed in the European Union. So maybe not only the national authorities have to change, but also the European decision makers, and to be more. They are. Yeah, they are what's funny and sad at the same time, that they are telling us how they are sharing the democratic values and so on, and how do they want the every citizen to get involved. But for example, when we look at the European Citizens Initiative, we don't see it actually. We see something completely else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's always hard to give away power once you have it, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, still I agree with all the problems with the European Citizens Initiative that you've mentioned, but still, it's what I mean is it's a tool we can build on. Of course, at some point there has to come something binding, so that you can be sure if you invest all of those resources, whether it's your time or financial resources, that you actually that something changes, or that, I don't know, the whole of Europe votes in a referendum, something like that. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to mention, that like direct involvement of citizens, that we could pitch something, that we could, you know, have the feeling that if we get active and reach a certain threshold that could also be lowered, I would be in favor of that, that we can directly change something, you know, that you have a direct connection to the European Union. And then whether it's the refugee crisis, whether it's more voluntary services, or whatever our issue is, we could not only bring it on the agenda, but we could collectively decide on it. It's a nice, maybe it's one of my wishes for the future of Europe, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. You want to say? Okay, so to relate to that, like another antagonist, let's say, point from me, because like we are talking about the democracy and how the European Union should be democratic, and how should it allow every citizen to get involved, but like we cannot forget that the European Union is not a national state, and this fact has its major consequences, because they are like totally different factors and totally different levels of decision making at the European level, and the democratic part is only like one of them in the European Parliament. But when it comes to, for example, the Council or Commission, like we have another types of governance there. So apart from like not treating the European democracy as the national democracy, I think we should also come up with ideas how to combine democracy within the European Union, because as European Union is such special organization, its democratic components, in my opinion, also have to be special. Otherwise, if we just borrow the tools from the national level, yeah, some of them may be successful, but not all of them, I think. And I think maybe that's what will happen in the future, that we will like actually find some new forms of democratic and citizen involvement at the European level. Maybe do you want to say anything? Okay, so I will just. Okay, so another point, which also was brought earlier, you said that it's good when the people who are involved in the somehow involved in the actions of the European Union are spreading their experience, their knowledge, and so on. And I think I'm strongly agree with that, and I'm wondering if maybe this is the hope, because whenever some institution like lectures us about what's good for us and how how European Union is good for us, I think it will have the less effect in comparison to the situation when someone the same age as we tells us, hey, I've been, for example, to Erasmus, I've been volunteer, European volunteer, and first of all we have the like direct contact with real person who shares experience, and second of all we also this experience also is not like about the great ideas and so on, but it's about basic activities and how Europe affects our life. So maybe this is the way, like, not to like talk about this like only about ideas, but try to let's say, go even more local than with the with the regional and local level we were talking about earlier, and like try to create like sort of information chain between people who have such experience and people who don't have, and potentially they would be interested in receiving such messages. Any other?
Yeah, yeah. I think the volunteering services we have are a great start, and that's probably also what the EU is trying to achieve, creating more, strong Europeans through all these exchanges and. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add here that I really think that it's a good local, because like if the government is not doing that, then we people who are the part of it can do it ourselves, at least like this way. Of course, it's not that many people. Of course, it won't be that loud, but at the same time, it's something. And also, if it will be well promoted, maybe more people will take part of it. And if the people are getting to the projects like this or to Erasmus or whatever, and this exchange will make them feel more European, that like they will not be only linked to their own country, they will be linked to Europe in general. They will see that actually people from other countries are the same that they are. So they will not feel this difference that much, and they will actually see the similarities. They will like go through it, and they will be like, okay, I'm European because these people are also like, we share the same values, as I said before.
And can I ask you if, for example, you reach to your peers and try to like talk about about Europe?
To be honest, like since I'm here, I was all the time sharing through like my social media everywhere where I am, what I'm doing, and I really, in every time when someone is asking me, because I don't really feel like, if someone is not interesting, I don't feel like putting that on them. But of course, if someone is asking, I always tell about my experience and how I see it, and if I like it or what I liked it or what I didn't like, and so on, But yeah, I think that like people as, for example, like for us, I think that we do it as much as we can, but I'm not sure if every volunteer would do that, So I think that also if you are taking part of it, it should be like I wouldn't say obligatory, but like it will be the part of your job to promote it afterwards. Yeah.
And when you talk about Europe, like, do you see how it's did it somehow affect the views of the people who you are talking with? Like, they already had the positive image of Europe, or they like changed it because of your experience?
To be honest, I think that person should be open for that, to take your thoughts if the person is strongly disagree with your opinions, whatever you say, it will not reach them, So it's like, it should be like some things that you should already share some viewpoints before starting the conversation like that, So I think yes, but as I said, this should be the thing that is already like the part of the views of that person. Then it's like more, it goes wilder, I would say.
Okay. Maybe you would like to comment on that, because I know that it's a bit different situation. Because Colombia is in totally other place than Ukraine, for example, but maybe it's somehow the same, maybe it's different.
In fact, I wanted to react on her comment, and it's like, I don't know, my perception right now after hearing all of the opinions is that somehow European citizens, I mean, I don't know, it's like the education you receive in terms of what Europe is, what it means, it's not that strong, right? It's like, do you think that maybe in the schools they should like, I don't know, build up a stronger program in which students are provided like the necessary information to really understand like what it is all about when it comes to the European Union. I don't know, it's like my perception, but I don't know if you can tell you can tell me something about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't know, like, I think that Adriana maybe can comment after me how it looks in Greece, but for me, it was never the thing, actually. It's like you should find out about it yourself, you know, you should educate yourself in this point, because as I am saying, Ukraine is not a part of EU, so we have many programs. European Union shares a lot, like, with us, but at the same time we are not a part, and we always feel that. So you know, it's like it's not the same. So maybe I don't know.
Well, Greece is in the European Union since many, many years, and we still have the same problem. We don't know anything about it. We never learned about it in school. And I can also speak in behalf of the bigger part of the Greek population doesn't feel European either. So, yeah. And people actually don't even really treat us as such. For example, I got asked for a visa in a hospital in Poland. Yes, I got asked for a visa in a hospital in Poland, and one time in Sweden I tried to buy beer, and they asked me they told me I can't buy beer because I don't have a European Union document when I showed them my ID. Yes, so I guess maybe the information problem is really general, because no country is properly informed about the European Union, otherwise at least everybody would know the member states. So yeah, but especially these programs, it feels like nobody really knows about them, because every time I post something from my experience here in Poland, people ask me, okay, how did you find a job in Poland? And I have to explain this over and over again, and they really don't understand because they haven't heard anything like that before. So yeah.
No, I mean, for me it's like, you know, quite impressive, because still, like, okay, as you mentioned, Greece is part of the
Yeah.
EU, and
For many,
it's
many
not
years.
a comment I would be expecting from someone from Greece to share. So yeah, it's interesting. But like, what do you think, or what do you feel is that starting point in order, like, to enhance that educational content, or I don't know, like, what's that starting point in order for European citizens to start learning more about the European Union itself?
I think it has to be maybe the teachers. Maybe we need more classes of like political sciences and societal sciences in schools, and the teachers themselves should really pass on that these countries are European countries, even if they are not in the Union. They should talk about Europe as a whole. For example, I know that in my country, and as I have heard in other Balkan countries too, usually when you say the Europe, you mean Germany, France, Spain, Scandinavia. You don't mean yourself. So in Greece, when somebody says, yeah, in Europe, they don't mean Greece. And Albania doesn't mean Albania. And Bulgaria doesn't mean Bulgaria. So I think we should start maybe applying ourselves as part of the whole, and then we can start from that.
So probably would you say that the information is there, but like the concept of what the European Union is, it's somehow co-opted or like centralized into these like countries that you mentioned?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Mostly because they are the biggest decision makers too, and the most strong countries, I think.
Okay, that's interesting.
It wouldn't be possible for me at all to hear about the possibilities that Europe's offer. Not only Europe, but other areas of, for example, civic engagement. But yeah, it's a thing that we are living in some kind of bubbles, right? And we think sometimes we think that everyone has the same information as we do, right? But the people who are outside our bubble, they may not even know what European Union is or how is it working. So I think that's also the case. How we should reach them, because when somebody is outside this European bubble, I don't think it's possible to reach such people in other way than talking like face to face with people, for example, who live there next to them, had this European experience, and it affected their lives, and they are then ready to share what they've been through because of the European Union. Been through in the positive way, of course.
Yeah, but even I heard about the, for example, ESC projects before. I don't know anyone who participate. Like I never met. It was like really, and the thing is that the stories I have heard from people who are the part, for example, who was the part of our. Yeah, sure. Sorry. Who was the part of our Schumann team? We they did all was all usually just random thing, just it just happened because I found it on Facebook, or just like my friend told me, it wasn't like on purpose. We had like maybe 3-4 people who applied for like 5 or 6 countries, and they got accepted, but usually it was just a random thing. Oh, I saw it on Facebook and just applied, so it's really it says how bad it is, the information we don't get, and we don't have it, and for example, for me, before I moved to Poland, I was studying in Kyiv for 4 years, and no one ever talked to me about Erasmus. It's even hard to get there. Here, okay, in Poland, it was quite, because I was studying here for 2 years, and it was like everyone was talking about it. It was, for example, in Ukraine, even we can take part of it, they complicate that, make it even more complicated for you to go abroad. And it's weird, like I understand, in one hand I understand they want people to stay in the country, not to move, because after you experience this you might want to go abroad. But at the same time, it's like keeping people in a cage and not telling them about, like, as you said, that you feel like you have all the information, but you don't. Yeah.
And
That's completely funny because I'm from Colombia, and for example, there Erasmus is a quite popular program. In fact, I have a friend of mine. She studied like in Europe due to a Erasmus scholarship. So yeah, for me it's not funny in the funny sense, but just like curious, the fact that you are not really informed about. I mean, or you're not provided all the necessary information for you to grasp all the opportunities that you have out there. And yeah, I mean, Ukraine, yeah, it's not part of the European Union, but it's still, I mean,
it's close in Europe. Yeah.
I'm like,
can we stop for a
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's really it's a paradox somehow. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do regarding this, Yeah.
Sorry. She wants only to listen. Przepraszam, po angielsku jakby możemy. Okej. A możemy na chwilę kamerę na panią skierować, czy nie bardzo? Okej, dobra. No. Anyway, like I think what you have just said, and I'm like strongly agree with that. But also this lack of information also, I think, creates another problem, that it creates the attitude especially in young people, that even if they finally receive this situation, they think it's not for me. I won't.
Exactly.
I won't be able to do that, and so on and so on. So that's another problem. For sure, for those people who overcome this barrier, it's then a way easier because they have less opponents on the journey to success. But nevertheless, I'm very cruel today. Sorry, but it's true. But yeah, when we like look at this from the like general European perspective, that's a real problem, and I don't think it's something. Again, it's in my opinion, it is not something which will be solved in like couple of hours, of days, of years even. So it will just take time, if it's gonna be possible at all, and I hope it's gonna be, to like encourage people and make them feel more encouraged to take part in such initiatives, because if they overcome this barrier, they will see that there is nothing to fear.
Yeah, but as Adriana said, I also really agree with that. That even the the part of countries which are part of European Union, they sometimes don't know who is the part of the European as well, Union as well. So I don't know, maybe it shouldn't be, of course, lessons of European integration or something, but it might be a part, like probably in the lessons of the geography we should have that. Maybe we did, but no one really put our attention on it. Like no one said us, look, this is Europe, you are part of it, we are trying, like all this political situation, all this problems we are having because we don't have a lot of enough information. We don't have, if we would start from schools, we might reach that. And a really good thing is, because we had two girls who have been working for the foundation, and they have been sharing their experience, and also Adriana is sharing with Shansa her experience about volunteering about Greece, like talking about these things. And schools should be like more interested in that. They should participate more, and they should invite volunteers such as us to show their pupils what we're doing, what is happening. So it might help. Yeah.
Or did you want to? I think that's a really good idea, to make it like to have people who went abroad, and did these volunteering services come to your class and explain or talk about this experience. Because I remember, for example, I did a year abroad in high school, and we had these organizations coming to our school. And that's why half of my class went away. But in the end, this was the volunteering service is so much better than what I did, because these just exchanges, they cost a lot of money. Like, you pay this institution to help you get there and get a visa or whatever is needed, and a European volunteering service, it would have been such a much better option, because you also learn so much more about the world. I imagine, like, it's really this European focus that
Yes, and I understand why the programs that you pay for are so well promoted. This is like, you don't get money from this, people don't get money from this, so no one is interested. That's the point. But it's really cool. Like, I think that the young people should know that they will receive more than they give. Actually, it's really, really cool experience. For me, like, if someone is asking me, I'm like telling, I would go through the year again and again, because that was great. The people I met, the things I've learned, it's just really cool experience. So, that's as you said, that's great that I didn't have so many opponents, and I could get here.